Deep within you, beneath the noise of everyday life, there is a quiet place that only reveals itself when you truly pause. I have watched many souls step into that place during the darkest hours of their lives and find a strength they never knew they carried. That space is not mysterious. It is simply the pure part inside you where every thought, once it touches that stillness, begins to take the shape of your life. I have spent many years observing how people face the pressures of adulthood, the losses, the confusion, and the kinds of sadness they do not even have words for. And I noticed that everyone, no matter how strong, reaches a moment when they look at life and sigh, wondering why peace is distant, why abundance feels dim, and why faith seems as fragile as a thread. If you have ever felt that way, know that you are not lost. You have only missed the quiet voice within you. The mind has a law that people walk past every day without noticing. A law that does not punish or reward, but simply responds to what you truly believe is real. When you hold an image of yourself, a feeling towards someone, or a thought about life, your subconscious records it as a command. And naturally, life begins to open or close according to that blueprint. Not because you are worthy or unworthy, but because the mind can only recreate what it has accepted. I want you to gently look at yourself in this moment. In all these years, what have you believed and what have you feared? What blessings have you quietly rejected because you thought they belonged to someone else and not to you? Everyone I have ever met has a moment of realization. They do not lack blessings. They only lack permission from within. So before we go deeper into this journey, I invite you to open your heart as if stepping into a room filled with light. You do not need to force yourself to believe everything I am saying. You only need to soften your shoulders, take a long breath, and allow yourself to listen. Everything you are about to discover does not ask you to become someone new. It only invites you to return to the deepest part of yourself, where the good seeds have always been waiting for the gentle touch of awareness. Walk with me. From here, we begin the journey of opening the door of the mind, so you can see that when you change, what you accept within your world begins to change with it. Humans are not lacking in blessings, they are only lacking in awareness. There are days when you look at your own life and wonder why everything keeps repeating like a familiar circle. Even when you work hard, even when you try to improve yourself, even when you put in more effort than anyone around you, there is still a feeling that some door is half closed and you are standing outside not knowing how to open it. Many people come to me in that state. They do not lack goodwill or ability. They only lack one thing, the awareness that blessings have never left them. They have only been waiting for the moment you turn around and look at them through different eyes. You see, when I observe the lives of people through many decades, what troubles me is not their struggle or confusion or pain. What troubles me most is the way they judge themselves from such a limited viewpoint. They believe that life distributes blessings according to a list they will never be on. They believe luck chooses only a few. They believe some people are born with light while they are born with shadows. But the truth is very different. No one lacks blessings. People only lack awareness of the blessings they already have. I want you to imagine a large room filled with light, yet someone stands inside with their back turned to the light. That person always believes the room is dark and cold and hopeless. But if they simply turn around, look in another direction, allow themselves to see the light, they will notice the room has never lacked anything. Your mind is the same. It does not lack light. It has only been looking the wrong way. Many people think abundance is something far away, a reward they must be perfectly worthy of before they can receive it. But abundance does not work that way. It does not depend on luck or background or how many right things you have done. Abundance is a state of consciousness. When you change the way you see life, you open that door from the inside and no one can close it again. I once met a man named Michael who lived in a suburb near Portland. For years he worked so hard that his family said he barely had a life of his own. Yet he always felt he lacked something. Lacked money, lacked time, lacked opportunity, lacked joy. One day he told me with tired eyes, "I feel like I was not born for fullness." I looked at him and gently asked one question. "Where do you think fullness lives?" He answered immediately, "It lives out there in people with advantages and luck, not in me." That belief is what many people carry, a belief that makes them feel lacking no matter how hard they try. But the strange thing is this. When I guided Michael to look again at what he already had, his health, his resilience, his persistence, the creativity he never acknowledged, he began to change. Not because someone gave him something new, but because he realized the blessings had always been on the table in the room of his life. He just had not been looking at them. The subconscious responds to what you accept. If you say, "I lack," your mind looks for proof. If you say, "I am not worthy," your subconscious closes every door that could lead you to opportunity. But when you begin to change the way you see even a little, the subconscious opens like soil hearing the first rain. It receives what you allow it to believe. Someone once asked me, "How can I believe in something I cannot see?" I smiled. You still believe in fear even when the fear has not happened. You still believe in hurt even when no one intends to hurt you. That proves your mind knows how to believe. It has only been believing in the wrong direction. Awareness begins when you stop asking, "Do I have it?" and start asking, "From where am I looking?" You see scarcity when you look at life through fear. You see fullness when you look at life through love. You see unfairness when you see others as threats. You see peace when you see them as reflections of the same possibilities within you. And now I want to ask you a question just for this moment. In recent days, what good thing have you been refusing for yourself simply because you believe it is not meant for you? Take a few seconds to feel that question. It is not here to make you feel inadequate. It is here to remind you that what you hope for is already very close. You only need to turn around. You only need to recognize it. You only need to open your heart a little, and blessings will enter your life the way light enters a room that has been covered for too long. No one lacks blessings. No one is forgotten. There are only those who have not yet come back within to see the treasure already waiting there. And I believe that as you walk with me in this journey, you will start to see your life with new eyes. Eyes that finally recognize that what you have been searching for has been within you all along. The seeds of the mind are something many people spend their whole lives carrying without ever realizing that they themselves are the ones planting the seeds that shape every circumstance they are living in. Whether you are facing lack, exhaustion, or the feeling of never being enough, those emotions do not appear on their own. They are nurtured by the seeds planted in silence every day through the small thoughts you assume do not matter. I have met many people who wonder why they give their best, but life still feels as heavy as before. They read positive affirmations, they pray, they visualize, they try to improve themselves. Yet worry returns, fear stands at the door of the mind, and the good things they hope for keep circling outside their lives like a guest who cannot find the entrance. The reason is not that they are unworthy or that they lack faith. It is because a part deep within them is quietly planting seeds that contradict what they are asking for. Imagine a man named David. He lives in Southern California, works hard, and always wants his life to get better. Every morning he stands in front of the mirror and says positive words, like "I will succeed, I am growing, I am opening a new chapter." In those moments, he feels a little lighter. But as soon as he steps into the office and sees a coworker being praised in a meeting, a tightness rises in his chest. He does not say anything, but a quiet thought slips through his mind. They move ahead because they are lucky. No one really sees me. Those tiny quiet thoughts become seeds far stronger than the affirmations he repeats each morning. Because the subconscious does not listen to what you say, it only listens to what you believe. This is not something to fear. It simply invites you to look at yourself with honesty. The positive words you speak are a beginning, but the true seeds lie in the emotional atmosphere you carry inside. If you say you want success but feel threatened by someone else's success, the subconscious records that fear. If you pray for peace but hold on to small resentments, the subconscious records the chaos. And if you hope for abundance, but think that someone else having more means you have less, the subconscious records the scarcity. The mind works like a field. It does not judge the farmer. It does not choose between hope or fear. It only makes the seeds grow into form. When you understand this, you no longer ask, "What must I do to receive good things?" but naturally shift to a deeper question, "What am I planting every day?" I remember a conversation with a young woman. She told me she had tried every method to improve her life, but nothing worked. When I asked what she thought about her colleague who had just been promoted, she hesitated and admitted that deep down, she thought she only got it because someone favored her. That one thought was enough for the subconscious to close every door of advancement in her own life. Because the subconscious heard the message promotion is unfair, and it protected her from what it believed she did not want. You do not need to fight your subconscious. You only need to become aware. From awareness, renewal begins on its own. I want you to take a moment to observe yourself. Not to judge, but to listen. Is there something you want, but quietly fear? Is there something you hope for, but shrink back from when you see someone else receive it? Is there an image you try to hold, but your true emotions contradict it? Remember, the subconscious is not against you. It is simply performing its duty to protect you from what you once labeled as danger, even if that label was created years ago when you did not know better. When you change the label, you change the reaction. And when the reaction changes, your life begins to shift. Another important thing to understand is this. Seeds do not require you to be perfect. They do not ask you to be positive all the time. They do not demand that you eliminate every negative thought. They only ask that you begin to plant one right seed, then another, then another. Over time, the old seeds dissolve on their own. When you wish something good for someone, you are planting for yourself. When you look at others with gentleness, you are nourishing your inner field. When you release a blessing, you are healing a corner of your own heart. And if you have ever asked, "Why do I do so many good things, yet see no change?" I want you to know that change does not come from the number of things you do, but from the quality of the seeds you plant. One seed in the right direction can transform the whole field. You do not need all the answers now. You only need to be honest with what you carry inside. And from here we will learn how to plant again. To plant new seeds, gentle and good and true, so you can see that your life is not locked by fate. It has simply been waiting for a new instruction from your heart. The law of return is a spiritual principle many people understand with the mind, but have never experienced with the heart. It is the truth that whatever you release into life will always find its way back to you gently, or strongly depending on the quality of the thought you sent out. It is not reward or punishment. It is simply the natural movement of the human mind. I have met countless souls who suffer because they feel trapped in an unfair cycle. They tell me they do not want negativity, yet negativity keeps coming back. They do not want sadness, yet sadness visits them like an old familiar guest. I listen, and I know that beneath their desire for change lie seeds they have not yet realized they planted. Imagine the mind as a vast lake. Every thought you drop into it becomes a ripple. The ripple moves outward and then quietly returns to the place where it began. If your thought is criticism, it returns as someone who does not recognize your worth. If your thought is fear of losing something, it returns as situations that unsettle you. And if your thought is a blessing, it returns as opportunity, ease, and doors you never expected to open. The law of return never makes mistakes. It is never late. It simply reflects what you have sent out. I remember the story of Helen, a woman who lived in Denver. She owned a small shop on a busy street. Her business was not failing, but she was constantly burdened by the presence of the shop across from her. Whenever she saw them crowded with customers, a quiet heaviness rose inside her. She never said it aloud, but she believed their success took something away from her. One day she happened to hear a broadcast of mine and paused when she heard the line, "What you bless in others returns to you." Something in that sentence touched a soft place in her heart. She asked herself if I have been thinking about them with tension. All this time, is that what has been coming back to cloud my own path? A few days later, she decided to try something new. Every morning before opening her shop, she stood at her door, looked across the street, and silently said, "I wish you joy. I wish your customers feel happy with you. I wish your work flows smoothly." At first it felt strange, almost forced, but she kept going day after day. Nothing dramatic happened immediately, but in a few weeks her inner state shifted first. She felt less tense, less bothered, less comparing. And then her shop's income began to rise steadily. A returning customer came back. A new one arrived through a recommendation. A small partner suggested collaboration. Everything came softly. When she told me the story, she said, "I never thought blessings would come back in the form of opportunities. But I knew that is exactly how the law of return works. It responds to the essence of your thought, not the surface emotion. You do not need to speak aloud for a thought to become a seed. The moment you think it, the subconscious receives the instruction, and the subconscious has no concept of for others. It only knows that whatever you send out is something you are accepting for yourself. If you think others are not good enough, the subconscious hears, "I fear I am not good enough." If you think others always have it easier, the subconscious hears, "I feel I have less." If you think someone is a threat, the subconscious hears, "My world is unsafe." And it returns that exact feeling, that exact vibration, that exact experience. But in the same way, when you send out a genuine blessing, you plant for yourself a healthy future. I understand there are moments when you do not want to bless anyone, when you are hurt, when you are tired, when life feels unfair. But it is in those moments that a blessing opens the largest doorway, not because it changes someone else, but because it tells your subconscious, "I choose goodness. I choose peace. I choose to open." You may ask, does it really make a difference? And I will tell you, every blessing is a wave. The wave travels out, and the wave returns. You do not need to fully believe it right now. You only need to try, like Helen and so many others I have met. The law of return always works whether you know it or not. But when you know it, you will no longer let life pull you into old cycles. You begin to choose different seeds to send out. And when you do, good things come back, not as a miracle, but as something natural. Because the mind can only give back what you have planted within it. The energy of blessing is a truth few people truly notice. Every time you offer a blessing, no matter how small or fleeting you are, not only giving something good to another person, you are opening a pathway inside yourself. That path does not lead outward. It leads back to the bright place within your own soul where the subconscious recognizes that goodness is not rare, not reserved for others, but is a flow you are allowed to belong to. Since I began speaking about the power of blessing, many people have asked me the same question: why does blessing others help me? I always smile because that question means they are standing very close to a turning point. Just one more step, and they will see something simple and almost obvious. A blessing does not change others first. It changes your own heart. Let me tell you about Mark, a man working in a small office in Texas. He was diligent, never late, never causing trouble, but for years he felt hidden. New people were mentioned, others were trusted with tasks, while he quietly stood behind the scenes. Each time it happened, a mix of sadness and discomfort rose in him, not because he disliked anyone, but because he felt left behind. One day Mark heard an old broadcast of mine, and paused when he heard the line, "You cannot bless someone else without opening a channel inside yourself." That sentence stayed with him. That night before sleep, he tried whispering a simple thought: I bless my co-workers with peace and with clarity to see their own worth. At first, he felt nothing, but he continued. Every morning, as he thought about the workday, he added another thought: I bless the people around me with ease and recognition. He did not know why he kept doing it, but somewhere inside he felt something starting to release. A few weeks later, something small but meaningful happened. Mark felt lighter. He no longer tightened up when someone else was praised. He no longer felt he was running a race. And when his heart softened, an opportunity found him. His team leader unexpectedly gave him a new project. Not because he pushed for it, not because he tried to shine, but because, as he said himself, I no longer feel like I am on the outside. I feel like I belong. What changed? Not the work, not the environment, not the people. His heart changed. And when the heart changes, reality begins to shift. The energy of blessing does not come from the words. It comes from the inner posture you reach when you bless. When you say, I wish you peace, you affirm that peace is real. Your subconscious hears it and records peace as something I can receive. When you say, I am glad for your success, you teach the subconscious that success is not a threat. It is safe to approach. And so the door you once felt was locked opens gently. Many people ask, what if I bless others, but still feel awkward inside? I always say this is completely natural. The mind is like a field. The first seed is always the hardest to plant. The soil is still hard. Old roots still hold their place. But when you continue, when you stay patient with yourself, the soil softens, the heart opens, and the seeds find their way to grow. Some believe blessing is for noble people, but that is a misunderstanding. Blessing is a healing practice, not because others need your blessing, but because your heart needs release from the weight of comparison, inferiority, and the fear of not being seen. The mind cannot hold two states at once, blessing and resentment. When you choose blessing, you choose freedom. When you choose to celebrate good things, you step out of scarcity and into abundance. And now I want to ask you something, as if speaking to you in the quiet of a long evening. Is there something you are holding inside that keeps you from blessing others freely? If so, know that you do not need to erase it right now. Begin with one small blessing. One simple blessing. One blessing light enough for your heart to accept. And now, as part of this journey, I invite you to do one small act to mark your presence in the renewal of your mind. Leave a comment saying, "I am ready to change," or simply the number 1. Not for anyone else to see, but for you to confirm that you have stepped into a new chapter. A chapter where you no longer fear the good in others or doubt the good meant for you. Blessing is a way of opening the path. When you bless, you walk out of the narrow room of comparison and into the wide sky of abundance. And from this moment on, every blessing you send will become a light that guides your own way. Dissolving the mindset of competition is something I have watched transform many lives. Over the years, I realized something profound. Most people are not hurting because of circumstances. They are hurting because they feel they must always compete with someone they believe is ahead of them. The competitive mindset does more than steal your peace. It closes the doors of the subconscious and makes you believe the world is a limited pie, that if someone else has more, then you must have less. But I want to tell you this as gently as possible: that feeling is only an illusion. In the deeper layers of the mind, there is no concept of taking, losing, or fighting for a share. Your inner consciousness does not operate by division. It operates by expansion. The supply of the universe is not a pie to be cut into pieces. It is a flame, and lighting more candles never makes the original flame weaker. Yet when someone believes others are a threat, their mind contracts. It closes and begins to see the world through the eyes of scarcity. Everywhere feels competitive. Everyone seems like a rival. Every opportunity looks limited, and from within an invisible signal radiates: "I am afraid there is not enough." The subconscious listens and continues to create situations that confirm this fear. I remember a young man named Ethan whom I met during a speaking event in Seattle. He was a talented programmer, yet his life was filled with dissatisfaction. Every time someone in his group was praised, he felt as if something had been taken from him. He was always tense, not because the work was difficult, but because he saw everyone around him as competitors. When he sat in front of me, he said a sentence I had heard many times: "I know I am good, but it seems like everyone is moving faster than me." I looked at him and asked softly, "If someone else moving forward does not block your path, would they still feel like a threat?" He stayed silent for a long time, long enough for me to feel that he was facing his own thoughts for the first time. I guided him with one simple practice. Whenever someone achieves something, say quietly inside, "I bless you with more light. Your light does not dim mine." He laughed at first because it sounded too simple, but I knew simplicity is sometimes the strongest medicine for a mind trapped in fear of scarcity. Ethan tried. The first day he spoke the words like a machine. The second day he still felt uncomfortable. But by the 5th day, he told me that when a colleague received an award, he did not feel his chest tighten. He felt light, a kind of ease he had not known for a long time. A few weeks later, Ethan was given an important project, something he had wanted for a long time. What stood out to me was not the project itself, but the way he described himself. "I no longer feel like I have to race. I just follow my own rhythm." When you stop competing with others, you stop competing with yourself. The competitive mindset makes you believe others are taking your place. But the truth is, your place cannot be taken. No one can touch what is meant for you in the spiritual dimension. Opportunities designed for you arrive in your timing, not earlier, not later, and never for someone else. And when you know this, your breathing softens. You look at others with ease, not heaviness. Their success becomes a signal of possibility instead of a threat. The subconscious operates by similarity. It attracts experiences that match your inner state. If you see someone succeed and feel pain, the subconscious concludes success is painful, and it protects you from it. But if you see their success and feel hope, the subconscious understands this is safe, and it begins to open doors. Many people wonder why they are not seen, not chosen, not trusted. They do not realize they themselves have been sending signals of, I fear there is not enough. I fear others are ahead. I am not safe when others rise. And those signals quietly form a loop. To break that loop, you do not need to compete. You only need to see differently. Begin with one small thought. I am glad for your good because good is never divided. This simple sentence repeated often enough dissolves the fog within you. It helps you see what the subconscious has always known. No one takes anyone's share. No one reduces anyone's share. We only brighten our own by realizing that light has no limit. And when you live with that awareness, everything that comes to you arrives not through struggle, but through openness. Because the only person you ever need to surpass is the older version of yourself. The three keys of the golden spiritual law are forces that work quietly yet powerfully enough to change the entire direction of your life. I call them the three keys of the golden law of the mind: good intention, kind words, and harmonious action. Many people believe they must do something dramatic for their life to transform, but the most lasting changes always begin with these small things. Imagine your mind as a wide garden. Good intention is the seed you plant. Kind words are the sunlight that helps the seed break open. And harmonious action is the water that helps it grow into a strong tree. These three elements always move together. If even one is missing, your outer life cannot reflect the goodness you hope for. Many people tell me they try to think positively but eventually feel exhausted. I listen and realize they have placed too much pressure on themselves. They force their mind to think beautifully but forget the other two elements. When these three keys are not aligned, the mind fragments, and fragmentation always creates a sense of blockage. Let me tell you about Clara, a single mother in Pennsylvania. She worked in a small bookstore, raised 2 children, and lived in a constant state of carrying the world on her shoulders. Every night before sleep, she whispered, I want life to be lighter. I want peace. But even as she said that, her heart tightened whenever good things came to others. Deep in her mind, there was always a quiet question. Why is their path easier than mine? Why do they have more? She never realized that this single thought was resisting her own prayers. One day, she heard one of my talks. I said the subconscious does not differentiate between what you say to others and what you say to yourself. It only hears the content. That sentence stirred something in her. She decided to try a small experiment. Every morning before opening her notebook, she wrote down 3 names, 1 person she knew, 1 colleague, and 1 person she was not close to. Beside each name, she wrote a simple blessing. At first, it was just a new habit, but by the 10th day, she noticed something unusual. Her heart felt lighter. She compared herself less. She began speaking more gently to others, and slowly her behavior changed. One afternoon, an elderly customer came in looking for a rare book. Other bookstores no longer carried it. Clara listened to her story and said, If you would like, I can help you search for it. I can call a few more places. She did not do it for praise. She did it because it suddenly felt natural. 3 days later, the manager called her into the office. He had been observing her. The way she treated customers, the way she kept the atmosphere warm, and especially her willingness to support others, convinced him she was right for a new management position. Clara cried not because of the promotion, but because for the first time in years, she felt life was responding to her gently. I told her it was not a miracle. It was the echo of the 3 keys she had unknowingly begun to use together. Her good intention lived through the blessings she wrote each morning. Her kind words showed in how she spoke to customers, her children, and herself. Her harmonious action was in every small thing she did without calculation. When these 3 elements move together, the subconscious no longer feels torn. It no longer tries to figure out what you truly want. It no longer questions whether goodness is safe for you. It simply hears one consistent message: I choose goodness. I choose openness. And when that message is repeated, life aligns with it. Many people think harmonious action must be something grand, but it begins with very small things: a smile when you want to close your heart, a thank you when you feel shy, a blessing when you do not yet fully feel ready. These are the actions your subconscious records more clearly than anything else. The subconscious is not convinced by arguments, but it is moved by consistency. When you think good, speak good, and do good, even in tiny ways, you send a powerful message to your inner world. I am safe when good things come to me. And that is the moment the subconscious opens its doors. Remember this: you do not need to be perfect in all 3. You only need to begin. One seed of intention, one gentle word, one kind action. From that, a chain of transformation begins. When you practice these keys regularly, you will walk through life with a different energy. No more feeling like you must fight for your place. No more feeling like you must prove your worth. No more feeling like you must defend yourself from the goodness others receive. Instead, you feel like you are moving together, growing together, opening together. These 3 keys, when you truly live with them, become the foundation of a life you once thought you could never have. The joy you feel for the goodness that happens to someone else is one of the deepest signs of a growing mind. Among all the indicators of inner maturity, none is more profound than the ability to genuinely celebrate another person's blessing. It shows that you have stepped outside the silent spiral of comparison, the very spiral that has quietly exhausted countless lives. But I understand that this kind of joy does not always come naturally. Many people want to feel it, yet when they see someone else living more easily than they are, a quiet sigh rises inside. Not jealousy, not ill will, only a small ache, as if life is reminding them of the things they still long for. I always reassure them that this feeling is not something to be ashamed of. It is simply the sign of a mind that has been living inside a limited box, believing blessings must be fought for, believing joy is a resource that runs out, believing that if someone else receives more, their share must shrink. The truth is the complete opposite. When you can rejoice for someone else, you are teaching your mind that joy is safe, success is natural, and goodness can spread without ever being divided. And in that moment, you open a new frequency, the frequency of receiving. I remember Olivia, a teacher in Seattle. She loved her students and her work, but she carried a quiet heaviness within her. Whenever a colleague won an award or was invited to a conference, she felt a gentle drop inside her chest. She did not resent them. She simply felt unseen, as if her efforts blended into the background. What hurt Olivia was not the success of others. It was the hidden fear that their success meant she was not good enough. One day she attended a talk on the power of blessing and spiritual joy. I said, the subconscious does not divide. When you celebrate the light in someone else, you create space for that light to reach you. That thought lingered in Olivia's mind. She decided to try something she once believed she could never do. She began sending blessings and genuine congratulations to colleagues who were succeeding. Not forced blessings, not blessings meant to appear noble, just a gentle wish, like a door she was opening for herself. During the first week, she felt hesitant, but by the second week, she noticed something surprising. When she heard someone being recognized, her heart no longer sank. Instead, she felt a quiet expansion, as if there was more room inside her for goodness. One morning, she walked into her classroom and found a small note on her desk. It was from the school board. She had been recommended to lead the group of new teachers, a role she never believed she was qualified for. When she told me about it, she said through tears, for the first time, I did not feel compared. I felt seen. I want you to remember this. The joy you send towards someone else never leaves you. It returns like the echo of a mountain, softer, deeper, and full of blessing. A person cannot hold the mindset of competition and the mindset of joy at the same time. Only one can stay. And when you choose joy, you place yourself in the flow of spiritual abundance. Notice something. When you sincerely feel happy for someone, not forced, not pretending, do you sense a small brightness in your chest, a gentle warmth like morning sunlight? That is the signal that your inner world is opening. I have seen many people become free through this simple practice, not because they suddenly had more, but because they stopped seeing life through the eyes of lack. And when lack dissolves, the doors of the subconscious begin to open. Some people tell me they fear that if they celebrate others, they will forget their own goals. But the truth is this: when you rejoice for another person, you do not forget yourself. You stop working against yourself. Quiet envy is one of the deepest forms of inner resistance. You cannot receive what you see as a threat. You cannot move toward what you see as unfair. You cannot open your heart to what you believe belongs to someone else. But when you shift your perspective even slightly, the subconscious opens like soil after rain. And now I want to ask you a question softly. Is there something good that happened to someone else that you found hard to celebrate? And if today you tried to celebrate them, would your heart feel lighter? Do not fear the answer. Do not force joy. Just try. Because sometimes joy does not arrive through what happens to you. It arrives the moment you dare to touch a light you once thought was not meant for you. And when you celebrate the goodness in someone else, the universe whispers, you are ready for your own. Blessing opens the door between you and the light within. There are things in life that do not require effort to arrive. They simply require one thing: that your heart is open. And one of the gentlest and most natural ways I have ever seen a heart open is through the act of blessing. A blessing is not polite speech. It is not social courtesy. It is an inner movement where you acknowledge that goodness is real, active, and never limited. When you bless, you are not only sending good outward, you are creating a new flow within yourself, a flow that reconnects you with the inner light you forgot. Many people think blessing is just kindness, but in truth, it is a spiritual mechanism. When you notice the good in someone else, you affirm to your subconscious that good is safe. When you bless someone's success, you teach your mind that success is not a threat. When you bless with peace those who make you uncomfortable, you are teaching your inner world that you are no longer bound by your old reactions. I have seen many lives shift because of one small blessing, light as breath. Not because the blessing changed others, but because it changed the channel of receiving within them. I remember George in Boston. He was gentle, but lived with a constant feeling of being left behind. For years he applied for positions and was rejected. What hurt him most was not the rejections themselves, but seeing people he believed were less qualified being chosen. Quietly, a bitterness grew inside him that he never intended to carry. One day, while listening to a talk of mine, he heard the sentence, "What you bless in others is what you allow into your life." That sentence unsettled him. He had always believed he was not envious. When he looked honestly, he noticed that every time someone succeeded, he shrank a little. Every time someone was chosen, he felt the world was closing. He realized it was not the opportunities rejecting him. He was rejecting the good because he had labeled it as not meant for him. George decided to try something even though he felt uncertain. Each night before sleep, he closed his eyes and blessed the people who had succeeded that day. Not forced blessings, but simple whispers, like "I bless you with peace. I bless you with openness. I celebrate the good that came to you." At first it felt strange, but he continued. A week passed with no outer change, but inwardly he began to feel a calm he had never known. One morning he received a text congratulating a colleague on a promotion. For the first time his chest did not tighten. Instead, he breathed deeply and genuinely felt relief. 2 weeks later, his former company, the one he thought would never welcome him again, reached out and invited him to interview. He walked into the interview with a completely new state. No heaviness, no fear of comparison, no sense of smallness. He simply arrived as himself. A few days later, he received an offer. George wrote to me saying the world did not change. What changed is that I no longer believed the world was against me. And I knew the door that opened within him was opened by blessing a door no one else could open for him. There is something important I want you to understand. When you bless, you enter the frequency of the thing you bless. Bless peace, and you step into peace. Bless success, and you step into the space where success can reach you. Bless joy, and you step out of your inner shadows. The subconscious can only give you what you have accepted as good. And when you bless, you are saying to your inner world, "This is good. This is safe. I am ready." I know there are times you find it hard to bless, especially when you are wounded, especially when you are tired, especially when someone else receives what you have long hoped for. But it is in those moments that blessing becomes the bridge out of your old reactions. It takes you to the place your heart has been longing for. And now I want to ask you a question quietly for this moment alone. Is there someone you have found difficult to bless lately? And if you whispered a soft blessing for them right now, how would your heart feel? You do not need to force joy. You simply need to allow your heart to open a little enough for light to enter. Because the moment you bless, even once you begin to open the door that reconnects you with the light inside you, the light that is never left. I have witnessed how judgment quietly blocks the human mind. After many years working with thousands of people, I came to see that no inner habit stops blessings more effectively than judgment. I have seen people with beautiful hearts, great dreams, and the ability to go far, yet their lives narrowed like a stream blocked by stones they themselves had unknowingly placed there. I say this not to blame them. I say it because I once saw the same thing inside my own mind before I understood the laws of the inner world. Judgment does not need to be spoken to have power. It only needs to live inside you, a silent comparison, a quick comment in your mind, a tightening in your chest when someone else succeeds. That alone creates an invisible barrier that keeps the good you are waiting for from entering your life. Imagine the subconscious as a delicate yet deeply loyal field. It does not ask what is right or wrong. It only listens to what you emphasize through emotion. And if each time you see something good in someone else, your heart responds with discomfort or criticism, the subconscious hears one message: good things are unsafe. Good things make me uneasy. Good things should be avoided. And so it closes the door. I once met a man named Samuel in Chicago. He was skilled and dedicated, yet for most of his career, he remained stuck in the same position. He could not understand why he was always overlooked. When he came to see me, the first thing he said was, "I do not know why they keep choosing people who are worse than me." I looked at him and asked only one question: "How do you feel when others succeed?" He grew quiet. I saw in his eyes a bitterness he had not dared to name. After a moment he said softly, "I guess I do not feel very pleased." That one sentence gave me the answer he had been searching for. I told him, "Samuel, it is not others who are blocking you. Your own mind is blocking what you want because you have decided that what you desire is not safe." He did not understand at first, so I explained. Every time you judge someone else, you affirm that success must be controlled, happiness must be examined, and someone else's opportunity must be questioned. And when you do that, you place yourself in scarcity, believing that if one person receives something, another must lose something. Samuel lowered his head, not from shame, but from recognition. He realized he had tied himself with a rope he never knew existed. I guided him through a simple practice which I want you to know as well. Each time you feel judgment rising, pause and whisper inside, "I declare peace for you in this moment." Nothing more. No forced emotion, no forced forgiveness. Just a gentle declaration. I have seen many people open long closed doors through this one practice. Samuel tried. On the first day he spoke it awkwardly. By the third day he spoke it with fatigue. By the 10th day he felt lighter. By the third week he noticed he was no longer upset when others received good things. He no longer shrank when a colleague was promoted. And as the quiet laws of the inner world continued their work, only a few months later, he was recommended for a department lead role. Not because he worked more, but because he no longer used judgment to close his own doors. I told him, it is not the declaration that brought opportunity. It is the change within you that opened the way. I want you to understand something deeply. Judgment is an unconscious declaration that you do not believe in abundance. When you judge, you tell your inner world, "I fear good things because I think they are not for me. I fear others having more because I believe I will have less. I fear someone rising because I believe good things are limited." But in the spiritual dimension, there are no limits. Light does not shorten because many people receive it. Peace does not run out because someone else touched it before you. Opportunities do not vanish because someone else was chosen first. I have seen lives expand simply because someone released one small judgment, one small thought, one small sigh. They did not need to change everything. They needed only to change the voice inside. And when they did, the good that had been waiting outside their door stepped in as quietly as morning air. I want to tell you this with all my trust in the human spirit. If you want to clear the way for blessing, begin by loosening the smallest judgments within you. Not because others deserve it, but because your heart deserves freedom. And the moment you release even one judgment, life will whisper gently, "You are ready to receive." True prosperity is when you lift others as you rise. It took me many years to see this clearly. Prosperity is never a solitary path. A person becomes poor only when they believe they must hold tightly to what they have. They feel lack only when they believe that if someone else moves forward, they themselves must fall behind. But in the laws of the inner world, prosperity always expands. You cannot open your life while your heart contracts at the sight of someone else's good. I have seen three kinds of people when it comes to abundance. The first group holds tightly, accumulates, fears losing. The second waits for something to happen from the outside, but never opens the heart to receive. And the third, the rarest, are those who understand that prosperity is a flow, and that when they lift others, they lose nothing. In fact, they step into a wider, brighter current. I call this supportive prosperity. Supportive prosperity is not virtue in the moral sense. It is a vibration. When you sincerely bless someone's success, when you offer encouragement without calculation, when you share an opportunity instead of hiding it, you are telling your subconscious, I do not fear abundance. I trust in limitless supply. I know good multiplies when shared, and the subconscious, faithful and practical, reorganizes your life around that belief. Let me tell you about Jonathan, who owned a small cafe in North Carolina. The location was good, the coffee was good, but he lived under constant tension. Not because he lacked customers, but because a new cafe had opened directly across the street. Each day he looked at it and felt a tightening inside, the fear of losing his share. He said to me, I do not hate them, but I fear they will take all my customers. I saw the exhaustion of a mind trapped in the belief that the world has room for only one winner. I told him gently, prosperity does not work like a race. It works like a flame. You can light 100 candles, and yours will not dim. He listened, but remained doubtful. I understood. To believe in abundance, a person must release something they have held for a long time. After a moment, I asked him to try something simple. Each morning before opening his doors, look at the cafe across the street and whisper, I wish you a beautiful day. I wish joy and peace for everyone who walks through your door. It sounded strange to him, but he agreed because he no longer knew what else to hold on to. The first week, the blessing felt dry like routine, but he continued. By the second week, the first thing that changed was not his revenue, but his inner world. He no longer tightened when he saw customers walk into the other cafe. He became more present with his own work, more mindful of the flavor, more attentive to the quiet joy of a customer smiling. By the third week, new customers began to appear. Not because the other cafe declined, but because Jonathan's lightness changed the way he ran his own shop. He grew more open, more creative, more confident. His cafe began to radiate something no business strategy could manufacture, a calm and welcoming energy. One morning, Jonathan told me, when I stopped fighting others, I finally began to see my own path. That is the spirit of supportive prosperity. You lose nothing by lifting someone else. You lose only fear. You do not shrink when someone else rises. You shrink only when you compare. You do not dim when another shines. You dim only when you cover your own light. From the perspective of the inner law, we are all walking in the same field of energy. Every blessing, every gesture of support, every sincere wish for another person's good echoes back to you as opportunity, clarity, and peace. I want you to think of three people: someone you love, someone you know only a little, and someone you find difficult to open your heart toward. Offer them a gentle blessing. I wish you peace. I wish your path is bright. That is enough. You do not need to feel anything special yet. Just plant one seed. And now, as part of this journey we are taking together, I invite you to leave a small sign of your openness. Leave a comment saying, I choose to lift others, or simply leave the number 1. Not for me to see, but for you to see yourself stepping into a new state where prosperity is no longer something to compete for, but something you extend. Because in the depth of the spirit, What you lift in someone else is what begins to rise in you. The feeling of envy is something many people fear facing, and because they fear it, they let it quietly dim their entire lives. But envy does not make you bad. It is simply a signal, a subtle message from your heart trying to tell you something important. After years working with thousands of people, from entrepreneurs to artists, to ordinary souls trying to find their way back to themselves, I noticed one thing. Envy rarely comes from ill will. It comes from a forgotten dream. When you see someone with something you want but believe you cannot have, envy appears. It does not come to hurt you. It comes to whisper, "This matters to you." But you gave up too soon. Let me tell you about Sophia, a gentle woman from New Jersey. She was kind and devoted to her family. But for years, she struggled with a feeling she did not dare to name. Whenever she saw friends traveling, studying, changing careers, or simply having time for themselves, she felt a quiet ache in her chest. When she came to see me, the first thing she said was, "I do not understand why I feel sad when others are happy. I do not want to feel this way, but I cannot stop it." I looked at her softly and said, "Sophia, you are not sad because they have it. You are sad because you think you cannot." She grew silent. Sometimes the truth does not wound us. It simply lets us breathe because it finally names what we have carried for years. I guided her through the first step of detoxing envy, which is to treat envy like a mirror. A mirror does not only reflect others, it reflects what you locked away in yourself. I asked her, if you could do anything you see others doing, what would it be? Her eyes filled with tears. Travel. Write. Learn something for myself. I always wanted that. I just thought my chance had passed. I told her, envy comes only to remind you of what you still want. It is not the enemy. It is the call back home. Many people misunderstand envy. They think it is small-minded or selfish. But in truth, envy is the pain of a part of your soul that has been abandoned. When you see someone living a life you once dreamed of, the part of you that is tired, that has sacrificed, that has been pushed aside, rises and asks, "What about me?" If you judge this feeling, it hides deeper, but continues to harm you quietly. If you look at it gently, it guides you directly to what needs healing. I have seen many people free themselves from envy through one simple practice, turning envy into a conscious blessing. Not a forced blessing. Not a blessing to appear kind. A blessing spoken with this intention: I see the good. I know it exists. I admit that I want it too, and I allow myself to want it. Sophia practiced this every night. Whenever she saw someone with something she longed for, she whispered, "I bless your happiness." And I bless myself with the courage to pursue what I want. She did not force joy. She simply allowed her desire to exist. And that honesty softened the knots inside her. After 2 weeks, she wrote to me saying she no longer felt the tightness in her chest when she saw others thrive. She no longer felt left behind. She said, "I realized I was not envious of them. I was envious of the version of myself I have not dared to become." That is one of the most important discoveries a person can make about themselves. I want you to understand this deeply. Envy is a message, not a verdict. It appears only when part of you is asleep. A capacity, a dream, a desire you decided was not for you. If you dare to look at it, you will see it is not darkness. It is light waiting to be turned on. And now, I want you to take a moment to be honest with yourself. Who have you been envious of lately? And what is their life showing you about something you want but have not allowed yourself to claim? Let this question open a small space inside you, not to make you feel unworthy, but to show you the path your heart has been inviting you to walk. Envy is not a sign of smallness. It is the signal of forgotten possibility. And if you listen to it, it will lead you back to the place where you once dreamed but did not dare to speak it aloud. Visualizing good for everyone is the final doorway of the law of return. Across the many journeys I have walked with people, there is one moment I always wait for. It is not the moment they reach a goal, nor when they overcome a great struggle. The moment that moves me most is when they realize they are not alone in this journey, and that the goodness they cultivate within themselves can extend outward, touching lives they will never meet. I call this the awakening of collective consciousness. Many people believe that to change their life, they only need to focus on themselves. That is true, but only partly. There is a deeper layer where your mind is connected to countless other minds, where every thought you release does not only shape your own life, but also vibrates into the lives of others. When you understand this, you see that visualizing good for all is not spiritual charity. It is a natural law. Let me say this gently and clearly. Each time you visualize good for one person, you expand your energy field. Each time you bless a group of people, you expand the borders of your own heart. And each time you visualize good for everyone, even for just 1 minute, you place yourself in the highest frequency the human mind can enter. That frequency does not only draw good toward you, it frees you from the small limits you once lived inside. I remember one evening as I sat in my study looking out at the yard. Moonlight fell across the ground like a silver cloth. I thought of the millions of people carrying their worries, wrestling with questions no one could answer for them. I closed my eyes and imagined each one wrapped in light. No faces, no names, only the sense that they were being held by a gentle force they could not see. When I opened my eyes, I felt light in a way I had not felt in years. No more contraction, no more carrying everything alone, because in that moment I was not only visualizing for others, I was also being visualized by a wider version of myself. Visualizing good for all is not the act of a saint. It is the act of a heart that has grown less afraid of lack, less afraid of losing, less afraid of being left behind. And when fear melts, peace rises. I want to share another story about Emily in Boston. She was quiet and hardworking, but felt her life was trapped in narrow walls. She asked me often, "Dr. Murphy, why do I pray and think positively but still feel blocked?" I told her, because everything you do is moving inward. Your heart is contracting. To open your path, you must open in the opposite direction. Then I taught her a practice I want you to know too. Each night before sleep, choose 3 groups of people. 3 who are under pressure. 3 who are searching for direction. 3 you do not know but feel need support. Visualize them standing in a space full of light. No faces, no stories. Only the sense that they are protected, guided, and at peace. Emily practiced this for a month. When she returned, she said with gratitude, "When I visualized for them, my own life felt less crowded. I felt a door opening inside me." I asked what had changed in her daily life. She said, "Not success or money right away, but I feel like I am walking through a wider hallway. And since then, things have begun to shift." That is the deeper spirit of the law of return. When you visualize good for all, good returns to you, not in the form you expect, but in the form you need. The miracle is not that the world changes. The miracle is that your heart expands. And when your heart expands, the universe has more room to place its gifts. Now I want you to try something small, just one thing. Close your eyes for a few seconds. Think of someone who is tired. Think of someone who is lost. Think of a group of people you have never met, but who carry worries like yours. Then imagine them being lifted by a soft, light breath. This is not imagination. This is a spiritual act, a moment of opening. And when you open for them, you open yourself. No one can take what belongs to you. One of the deepest and most painful misconceptions people carry is the belief that someone else can steal their portion. They think if another person rises, they must fall. They believe opportunities are limited, that there are only a few seats at the table, that blessings are like invitations to a small banquet where only a handful can enter. Because of that, they live in fear and tension and constant self-protection. But I want to tell you this with clarity and gentleness. No one can take what belongs to you. No one can receive on your behalf what was meant for you. No one can block the flow that is designed for your life. The only thing that can delay your blessing is the belief that it can be taken away. People are not held back by the world. They are held back by their misunderstanding of abundance. When you believe the universe only holds a tiny portion for you, you behave like someone who must guard crumbs. When you believe someone else having more means, you will have less. You will see them as a threat instead of a reminder of what is possible. Opportunity does not work like a pie. It works like light. One person holding light does not dim the light of another. One candle lit does not steal anything from the other candles. It only brightens the entire room. So why are so many people afraid of losing their part? Because they have lived too long inside a mindset that was never meant for them. A mindset inherited from the fears of generations. A mindset shaped by scarcity, where everyone had to fight to survive. But scarcity does not exist in the spiritual realm, only in the human belief system. Let me tell you about Daniel, a freelance designer in California. He was gifted but constantly tormented by competition. Whenever a new designer appeared in his city, he would lose sleep, feeling threatened, feeling his future was shrinking. He told me, if they get the contract, I lose. If they become known, I disappear. When I met Daniel, he was exhausted. He told me he worked endlessly, yet felt everything slipping away. I knew he did not need more strategies. He needed a new belief. I asked him, Daniel, who do you think can take away what has been prepared for you? He hesitated, then said, maybe everyone out there. I looked at him and said, no one can take what belongs to you. And what does not belong to you cannot be forced into your life, no matter how hard you try. He did not believe me at first, so I asked him to practice something simple for 7 days. Every time he saw someone succeed, receive a contract, or gain attention, he would say silently, that does not take anything from me. What is mine will come to me. Day 1, he said it with frustration. Day 3, he said it with weariness. Day 5, his voice softened. Day 7, he said it like a simple truth. And as always, change began inside him before it showed in the world. Daniel said he no longer saw others as threats. He could look at their work without fear tightening his chest. He began noticing spaces in the market where he could grow in his own style instead of chasing someone else. Then one day an email arrived from a major company offering him a project he had not pursued. They told him they chose him because of his unique, gentle, non-competitive energy. The world did not change. Daniel shifted his frequency. He stepped out of the fear of losing and into the knowing that what is his will come without struggle. I want you to understand this more deeply. When you believe no one can touch your portion, your heart becomes peaceful. When you are peaceful, you can see the path. When you see the path, you do not need to compete. And when you no longer compete, what belongs to you arrives naturally. No one can take the dream written for you. No one can steal the path your soul has already chosen. No one can interfere with the larger plan woven for your life. Only you can close or open the door to it. And now I want to ask you very gently, recently, who have you been afraid might take something from you? And if right now you take a slow breath and whisper, "No one can take my portion," how much lighter would you feel? Listen closely, because the moment you truly realize this, the fear of loss that has weighed on you for so many years will soften like morning mist. Every thought you send out is the same thought that returns to you. When I observe people's lives, what surprises me is not how complex the world is, but how simple the inner laws truly are. Everything they think about others eventually becomes a mirror reflecting back onto them. Not because of punishment, not because of karma, not because someone in the sky is deciding their fate, but because the subconscious does not divide. It only records. It does not know you are thinking about someone else. It only knows that you are thinking. And every thought becomes a subtle command sent directly into your own life. When you think someone does not deserve love, your mind declares that love is scarce. When you think someone is luckier than you, your mind says luck does not touch you. When you think others get what they want easily, your subconscious records that your path must be difficult. This is not meant to make you anxious or afraid of your thoughts. I do not want you to live in tension. I want you to understand that each thought is a seed, and once you learn how to plant consciously, you no longer fear the seeds from your past. I remember Linda from Philadelphia. She was intelligent and kind, yet she struggled with one thing. Whenever she thought someone rose faster than she did, she would whisper, "They probably just got lucky." That small sentence hurt no one, but it became an unconscious declaration to her subconscious. Success does not come from me. Success does not choose me. I do not belong to success. And because the subconscious is loyal beyond measure, it began shaping her experiences accordingly. She worked hard, but felt she was standing outside the doors that opened for others. New people arrived and were trusted. Less experienced colleagues were chosen for opportunities. She had no idea that each thought she sent out was narrowing her own path. When she came to me, she said, "I do not understand why everyone is moving ahead while I stay still." I did not answer her right away. I asked Linda, when someone receives something good, what is the first thought that appears in your mind? She whispered, "I think they got it because of luck, not because they are skilled." I looked at her gently and said, "Then your subconscious believes the same for you. It believes success comes from luck, and you do not believe luck belongs to you. Do you see what is happening?" Her eyes widened, not because what I said was new, but because she finally saw a truth she had never named. Every thought she sent toward others was returning as her own experience. I taught Linda a simple practice. Each time someone receives something, silently say, "I wish you peace and prosperity. What you receive shows me what is possible for me." She practiced it. Day 1, it felt strange. Day 3, she no longer felt the sting when others were praised. Day 5, her heart began to soften. Within 1 month, something unexpected happened. She was chosen for a special project she once believed she would never be considered for. When she told me, she said with surprise, "Dr. Murphy, I did nothing but change the way I think." I smiled because I had seen this for many years. When you change your thoughts about others, your own life changes direction. I want you to feel this deeply. When you think good for others, you train your subconscious to believe that good is natural. When you bless someone's success, you teach yourself that success is not dangerous. When you send peace, you clear the energy around your life. You cannot plant seeds of criticism and harvest recognition. You cannot plant seeds of doubt and harvest trust. You cannot plant seeds of fear and harvest peace. But you can plant any seed you choose starting right now. Think of 3 people in your life. Someone you easily bless. Someone you feel neutral about. Someone who makes you sigh. You do not need to explain anything. You do not need to force emotion. Simply offer each of them the blessing you most desire for yourself. Wish them peace. Wish them clarity. Wish them prosperity. No pressure. No intensity. Just release it. One day you will notice your life feels lighter in a way you cannot explain, because each thought you send out is returning to you in the form of opportunity, calm, and doors opening at the right time. The subconscious never asks, "Who are you thinking about?" It only asks, "What are you thinking? And do you want this thought to become your experience?" When you bless the world begins to bless you. I have walked with you through a long journey from the subtle movements of the mind to the deeper layers you may have never touched before. And as I write these final lines, there is one truth I want you to carry with you, a truth I have seen again and again in the lives of countless people. No one is truly poor. No one is truly forgotten. No one is truly missing their portion. There are only minds that have not yet learned how to open their own doors. Your mind has never been against you. It simply reflects what you believe is real. If you believe the world is harsh, it will mirror harshness back to you. If you believe life is scarce, it will create experiences that confirm your belief. But if you believe the world is abundant, that goodness can reach everyone, that blessing is not a contest, but a flow, your life will begin to change its colors. I have watched people transform their lives by doing one simple thing. They stopped resisting others and began blessing them. Because when you bless, you remove the invisible walls you built around yourself. When you look at others with compassion, you carve a path for good to enter your own life. I want you to hold this like a soft whisper whenever your heart grows tired. Everything you send out returns to you in some form. If you send out judgment, you receive contraction. If you send out peace, you receive gentleness. If you send out good wishes for all, you step into an energy field where you no longer need to fight for anything. On many long nights, I have prayed for people I never met, praying for their clarity, their ease, their open path. Not because I am someone special, but because I know that whenever I lift someone up in my mind, I am lifted too. It is one of the quiet secrets of life. Now I want you to look back at the path we have walked together. You have learned how to bless others. You have learned how to see envy and turn it into light. You have learned that no one can take what belongs to you. And above all, you have begun to see the world, not as a battleground, but as a gentle river where everyone has space. If there is one thing I want you to keep close, it is this. You lack nothing. You only need to allow the good to come. And that good often arrives from the places where you once closed your heart. From here, the journey does not end. It simply deepens. Every blessing you send from today forward becomes a seed in your own garden. And one day, when you look back, you will see your life blooming in the most natural way, as if it never had any other destiny but to bloom.